Hi everybody, it's Pastor Joel here. Some of you have been watching these videos for a fair few weeks now. We've been doing them for a fair few weeks, we've had to. And it was pointed out to me this week that come Monday, I will have been pastor in the Dalby McAllister ministry area longer in isolation than I was before this all started, since I was installed here. So it's a really strange feeling. Some of you are members of our congregations here who've been watching this. Some are members of my past congregations. But for many of you, I know you're watching this from all over the place. You may be in Dalby, you may not be known to us. You may be on other continents, and I've heard that that's happening too. So this is a bit of a strange one. I don't like talking about myself that much, but I kind of wanted to introduce myself a little bit more and who I am and my life and mission, why I am here and why we are doing this. I am the son of a Lutheran pastor, and my dad remains one of my best friends to this day. I moved around a lot as a kid. I'm a really keen fisherman, and that comes from spending 7 years of my childhood in Hervey Bay in Queensland, just at the south end of the Great Barrier Reef. I used to drive all my friends nuts, telling them all the Latin names and everything of all the fish we were going fishing for. I'm a bit of a fishing nerd. I'm also, which was probably a bit strange for a pastor of a church, I'm an auxiliary firefighter, which is, for those who don't know the Queensland system, in some other states it's called a retained firefighter. We have our own jobs, and for me, of course, my full-time job is as a pastor. We carry a pager, we train once a week for a few hours, as well as an initial period of training. And this is paid firefighting. We are trained in the same things as the permanent guys who man the stations. But we're not trained to the same level. We do have ongoing training. And they are often in smaller towns or regional areas where they can't afford to have a full-time manned fire station. My journey into this has a lot to do with my ministry. I was sitting in my office one day in my last parish when about 4 or 5 fire trucks went past, and an ambulance, and then another one. And I thought, what is going on? And was later to find out that one of the members of my church had lost his life in a fire. And for some of you who are watching, you'll know who this was, and it was a very sad occasion. I went to visit the 2 men who found him. They were neighbours. It was father and son. And while we were talking, they said that they were a little bit frustrated or disappointed that no one from fire and emergency or chaplain or anything had contacted them to see how they were going. I looked around in the next weeks and found out that there actually wasn't a chaplain for fire and emergency in the Toowoomba Command. I thought, well, maybe that's something that I could do. But I wanted to understand the culture first and not just talk the talk. I wanted to walk alongside those who were doing it. So I went and joined up as a rural firefighter, and I did that for 2 or 3 years. Eventually my journey led me into becoming an auxiliary firefighter in my town in Gumbunji where I was. It was useful to have someone else who was around during the day. Firefighters in towns close to big cities like Toowoomba often live in the towns but work in the bigger cities, so during the day it's useful to have someone who was sitting there at his desk writing a sermon or something like that who could go when the pager went off. And I still do that now to this day in Dalby as a firefighter. It's a much bigger brigade, different to get used to. But I have also been a Queensland Fire and Emergency Service chaplain for about 5 years now. I believe I'm the only chaplain in Queensland who's actually an active firefighter as well. And this has brought me all sorts of wonderful opportunities to talk to people, to help them understand our faith, to help them understand my work as a pastor. I'm constantly told I don't fit in with people's preconceived ideas of what a pastor should be. And I don't know if that's good or not, but I've had some really interesting conversations with people in the back of fire trucks. My work as a pastor and as a chaplain and as a firefighter has in common the fact that we try to bring with us hope. And that's my mission even if I wasn't a pastor, that's my mission as a Christian. I've told my family repeatedly, and they know this, my old church used to know this, my favourite words in the Bible are from 2 chapters from the end. Revelation 21 verses 1 to 5. And I'm an emotional guy. I find it hard to read this without getting tears in my eyes. But I'll read the end of verse 3 and then verse 4. God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. Once, when asked at a pastor's conference why I'm a pastor, why I minister to people, my answer was 2 words: anger and denial. And they looked at me, what are you talking about? And I said, I'm angry. I rage against the death and disease and cancer and injury and all these things I come across over and over as a pastor. And I watch people grieve, and I grieve with them at gravesides and in hospitals. And I see it now also as a firefighter. I deal with car accidents and people grieving, losing homes, and sometimes even people losing lives. And that's the anger side. The denial side is that I refuse to believe that this is all there is. This is a great world. It has so many wonderful things going for it. But this inevitable death and the grief and the evil, that can't be it. I don't believe that for a minute. Some people lose any concept of faith when they see bad things happen to good people. When they see a children's cancer ward, for example. For me, it draws me closer to God and further into that certainty that there must be something better. And there is. We are told 3 chapters from the start of the Bible, it all went wrong. In the fall into sin. 2 chapters from the end, we see what it's going to be like. That other closed bracket, when we see what it's going to be like when it's all fixed once and for all and we're in heaven with God. No more death, no more mourning, no more crying, no more pain. So many people in our world don't have hope. And hope is so important. It keeps us alive. My role is to bring them hope. And I do it constantly in my preaching. I hope you've been able to hear that in some of the preaching. I like to try and encourage and give people hope. I do it in my everyday life. I found myself within the last week saying to someone who we were strapping onto the gurney of an ambulance after they were in a car accident, it's okay. The worst part of your day is over. It all gets better from here. I don't know where it came from, but I realised afterwards that I was trying to give him hope. It's going to get better. This coronavirus thing that we find ourselves in is a strange one. I find it hard that everything's changed, that we're used to, but I also find it hard not to be excited because there's new things happening, new and important things. We are reaching people on a different level. We're talking to people who may have never been inside our church before. And this is a chance for you to learn about me. I'd love to have you take the time to tell me about yourself, to make contact. I'll put the email here for our office if you want to have a talk to someone, if you want someone to pray for you. Even if you don't want to tell us your name, that's fine. We do these things, we do what we do for all of you out there. The church doesn't exist for itself. And if we can help in any way, that's what we're here to do. So I hope that when we all come back together again, you can join us and you can tell me, we can spend the time learning a little bit about you. But anyway, this was my little spiel for what it's worth. There's a lot more to tell, but this is just so that you know who it is who's up the front every Sunday. God bless you all, and I hope to see you again soon.